Welcome back. Today we will continue to discuss the remaining competitive bits from human reproduction. Level 1, page number 71. From question number 36 onwards, today we will continue in this part. Question number 36. In human females, meiosis 1 is completed at options 1. Primary oocyte within the primary follicle stage. 2. Primary oocyte within the secondary follicle stage. 3. Primary oocyte within the tertiary follicle stage. 4. Secondary oocyte within the secondary follicle stage. So now let's see this diagram given here. So now oogonium undergo mitosis to form a more number of oogonial cells. In that one is differentiated by increasing their growth and size. That we will call as primary oocyte. So this primary oocyte undergo meiosis 1 and it is arrested. It is arrested at Paquetine stage in the prophase 1. So this meiosis 1 division is arrested at prophase 1. So till puberty, it cannot undergo meiosis 1. So it is arrested. So formation of the oocyte, primary oocyte, is starts at embryonic stage, and the oogonium forms the primary oocyte, and it undergo meiosis 1, and it stops that meiosis 1 at prophase 1. Prophase 1 it stops, and it will continue that meiosis 1 from the prophase is initiated after puberty, that is sexual maturity. Then it undergo, after sexual maturity, the primary oocyte undergo meiosis 1 and completes the remaining phases of meiosis 1 and forms the secondary oocyte. So secondary oocyte undergo meiosis 2, not meiosis 1. So that's why secondary oocyte it is not considered as the answer. Now the primary oocyte, in which follicle it undergo completes its meiosis 1. So the primary oocyte it is surrounded by primary oocyte is surrounded by cells called as granulosa cells. This stage we will call as the primary follicle, and again this primary oocyte it is surrounded by more and more granulosa cells, more and more granulosa cells. So the cells of granulosa cells are increased around this, and this stage we will call as the secondary follicular stage. And this secondary follicular stage, after addition of some more granulosa cells, it converts into tertiary. So in this tertiary, we will identify that the granulosa cells, the spaces present between granulosa cells fuse to form a large cavity in the tertiary follicle. If you are observe the tertiary follicle, we can observe the ovum at the corner. This is a ovum, and this ovum is surrounded by the follicular cells, and the it has a cavity at the center, and this we will call as the antrum. That is the identification of tertiary follicle, presence of fluid filled cavity, antrum. So in this tertiary follicle stage, this primary oocyte completes its meiosis 1, and it produces the secondary oocyte. So the correct option for this question is primary oocyte within the tertiary follicle stage. The phase. Question number 38. The thin membranous layer of the uterus is called. Options 1. Perimetrium, 2. Myometrium, 3. Endometrium, 4. Mesometrium. So in these options, perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium, all these three are the tissue present in uterus. So in this perimetrium is the outer layer, myometrium is the middle layer, and this endometrium is innermost layer of the uterus. So now this perimetrium is the outer layer, and it is thin membranous, and myometrium is the middle one. It is made up of smooth muscles, and this myometrium helpful to develop contractions during delivery, and the endometrium, the inner wall of uterus or inner layer of uterus, on this implantation of embryo will takes place. Now mesometrium. So mesometrium is a ligament attached directly to the uterus. So here the mesometrium is represented in the photograph. So in this photograph, this region is the uterus, and here it is the ovary, and this ovary is connected to the uterus through fallopian tubes. And now all these parts are joined by the peritoneum. We will call it as a membrane which joins them or hold them. So mesometrium is a ligament, a tissue which attaches directly to the uterus. This part, this one is called as this region is called as mesometrium. So mesometrium is a ligament tissue which attaches to the uterus to hold in its position. So now among these four options, perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium are the layers present in the uterus. The odd one is mesometrium, myometrium. It is a ligament tissue which holds the uterus by directly attaches to that. So that's why this mesometrium we are not considered as a answer. So now myometrium and endometrium. Endometrium is the inner wall of the uterus, and already we mentioned on this embryo is implanted for further development. So it is also not a thin membrane. And myometrium, it is made up of smooth muscles, and they develop the contractions during childbirth. So that's why it is also not a option. So now perimetrium, it is a outer layer and it is a thin membranous. So correct option is 1. Question number 39. Which event is not associated with the menstrual phase in human female? Option 1. Menstrual flow lasts for 3 to 5 days. 2. The menstrual flow results due to breakdown of endometrial lining of the ovary. 3. The level of estrogen and progesterone is at low level. 4. Starting phase of the menstrual cycle. So now let's see the photograph here. So the menstrual flow region, menstruation phase, already in this menstruation, initial stage of the menstrual cycle. This is a menstruation. So menstruation is occurred day 1 to 5. That is menstrual flow last either 3 or maybe 5. It is correct that point. And the menstrual flow results due to the breakdown of endometrial tissue lining of the ovary. So here in this diagram, this is all the endometrial lining. So during menstrual cycle, endometrial cells are undergo proliferation, means cell division to increase their number. So if the fertilization is not takes place, then these endometrial cells are break down, and the degenerated, that means the dead ovum is oozes out during menstrual flow, that we will call as menses. So now the menstrual flow results due to the breakdown of endometrial lining of uterus, not ovary. Here the point is clear. This menstrual cycle is takes place in the uterus and ovary also. The ovary function is that releasing ovum, and the menstruation or menstrual flow results the breakdown of this endometrial lining, because during menstrual cycle the lining cells will be increased, that cells are detached and they sent out along with this menstrual flow, along with degenerated ovum produced by the ovary. So that's why endometrial lining is present in the uterus, not in the ovary. So we got answer. Which event is not associated with the menstrual phase? So this second option is correct. And the level of estrogen and progesterone is at low level. So see this ovarian hormones level. So at this stage, that means 1 to 5 days, at this stage both the estrogen and progesterone are in low in level. This is also a correct statement. starting phase of menstrual cycle. So menstruation is the starting phase of the menstrual cycle. It is also a correct. So that's why the correct option for this is 2. In this statement, last word ovary, instead of that uterus is present, then this statement is also a correct. Question number 40. Monozygotic twins are produced 1. Options. 1. 2. Ova are fertilized simultaneously. 2. Incomplete cleavage of zygote. 3. First cleavage of zygote is followed by separation into 2. 4. There is no cleavage. So now let's know about these monozygotic twins. So these monozygotic twins are also called as identical twins, also called identical twins. So these identical twins are results from the fertilization of a single ovum that split into 2 parts after first cleavage of zygote. Then we will called as monozygotic twins. So as per this statement, the correct answer is option 3. Now let's see the option 1. 2 ova are fertilized simultaneously and developed separately. That will produce the dizygotic twins or unidentical twins. And see this option 2, incomplete cleavage of zygote. Suppose after fertilization, so this first cleavage of zygote is incomplete. So that means if zygote is splits like this, that means this region is attached. When it develop into 2 individuals, which organs are developed at this attached region, that organs are still in attached position. That we will see in that some of the individuals, their heads are attached, or maybe their chest region is attached. The best example, Brother movie. In that Surya, the twins of that Suryas, they are attached at the site of this abdominal region. So that means during that cleavage, that region is not completely divides. As a result, that part is attached. So that's why the complete twins are formed from a single zygote is monozygotic twins. If from two different zygotes, if twins are developed, they are called as dizygotic twins or unidentical twins. Question number 41. Testis of whale or options 1. Extra abdominal, 2. Of external, of internal, 3. Internal, 4. None of the above. So when we are studied about human male reproductive system, so in humans, the testes are located in outside the abdominal cavity and in scrotum. So that means scrotum is a part, it is present outside the abdominal. So that's why the testes in human are extra abdominal. So here in first option, the extra abdominal testis. That condition we can observe in human as well as monkeys, apes, etc. And in some animals, the testes are descend into the scrotum only during time of breeding, only breeding time. In such cases, the testes are considered as half external and half internal. So if there is no breeding season, then the testes are present in the abdominal cavity. So this we can observe in rats as well as in bats. So in rats and bats, squirrels, etc. In that animals, the testes are descend into the scrotum, means become external only at the time of breeding season. Now, internal, that means permanently the testes are present in abdominal cavity, present permanently in abdominal cavity. This condition we can observe in whale, dolphins, and in elephants. So in these animals, scrotum is present, but it acts as a vestigial. So the answer for this question is option 3, internal. Question number 42. Recognize the figure and identify the correct matching. Option 1, letter A, ureter, B, urethra, C, glans penis, D, foreskin. Option 2, B, ureter, A, urethra, C, glans penis, D, foreskin. 3, A, ureter, B, urethra, D, glans penis, C, foreskin. 4, B, ureter, A, urethra, D, glans penis, C, foreskin. So now among these already I represented or I mentioned that appropriate naming of that parts. So here A is ureter and B is urethra, which brings sperm outside and it is present in the penis. And C, it is glans penis, and D is foreskin. As per this labeling, the correct option is 1. Question number 43. Germinal epithelium of ovary has options 1, cuboidal cells, 2, columnar cells, 3, squamous cells, 4, stratified cells. So all these cells are the type of epithelial tissue. So now in this cuboidal epithelial cells, they are present in the lining of nephrons, parts of eyes, and ovary. And the columnar cells or columnar epithelial tissue, found in respiratory, digestive tracts. Squamous epithelial tissue cells, they forms the surface of the skin, and stratified cells or stratified tissue. Here the stratified tissues are different categories, that is a stratified cuboidal epithelial cells, stratified columnar epithelial cells, and stratified squamous epithelial cells. Like that, different categories are present. These stratified cells are located under the tissue. For example, so under the tissue of skin. So now, as for this information, the epithelial of ovary has cuboidal cells are present in the epithelium of ovary. So answer is option 1. Question number 44. Immediate membrane covering the mammalian egg is options: corona radiata, 2. zona pellucida, 3. vitelline membrane, 4. chorion. So now among these four options, chorion, it is a extra extra embryonic membrane. So that means this chorion is the odd one among these options, means it is not related to the membrane covering of this egg. So that's why it is chorion is the odd one among these four options. It not comes under that membranes of egg. So it is not considered. So now corona radiata, zona pellucida, vitelline membrane. Let's see this ovary diagram, ova diagram. So now this is ovum surrounded by the layer. This layer we will call as a plasma membrane. This layer is a plasma membrane, and next one, immediately of this plasma membrane there is a one layer. I am drawing with the blue color. This layer is called as vitelline membrane, and after that vitelline membrane, the next region, this area is called as zona pellucida, and the cells, radiating cells present, these all these cells are called as, the corona radiata. So now the question is immediate membrane covering. So the membrane covering of this ovum is this one. That membrane is called as the plasma membrane. The membrane covering of ovum is plasma membrane. So immediately after this plasma membrane, which membrane is present? Which membrane is present immediately after covering of mammalian egg? So immediately after covering of mammalian egg, after covering of ovum is plasma membrane, this one. Immediately after this is the, that we will called as vitelline membrane. So the correct option is vitelline membrane. Question number 45. Fetal membrane that provides the first blood corpuscles for circulation in embryo. Options: 1. Trophoblast, 2. Yolk sac, 3. Amnion, 4. Chorion. So now let's comes to the first option, that is tropoblast. So tropoblast, it is outer layer of the blastocyst, that is the embryo. Outer layer of the blastocyst is called as a tropoblast, and the extra embryonic membranes are amnion, chorion, yolk sac, as well as allantois, or the four. So here 2, 3, 4 options are: 2, option 4, yolk sac, as well as amnion, as well as chorion, and along with that one more, that is called as allantois. Allantois. So yolk sac, amnion, chorion, allantois. All these four we are considered as the extra embryonic membrane. So these all the extra embryonic membranes having its own functions. So amnion, so this part is this region is amnion, and it surrounds innermost layer, innermost membrane of the embryo, and the space between this embryo as well as in amnion layer is called as amniotic cavity or amniotic space. It is filled with a fluid called as amniotic fluid. It helpful for protecting the embryo from the external shocks. That is one. And this region, the outermost membrane of the embryo, it is completely surrounds, that we will call as the chorion, and in particular region, the where it is attaches to the uterus, that region having some villi like structure, they are called as the chorionic villi. So this chorion is helpful for the formation of placenta. So two functions, two embryonic membrane functions are completed. Now this allantois, already in previous bits we discussed, this allantois acts as a in embryo. It is helpful for respiration as well as stores the excretory substances of the embryo. Excretory substances of embryo. So now the one and only left, that is yolk sac. This yolk sac is during embryonic stage, it produces, during embryonic stage it produces blood cells as well as lymphoid cells. So that's why fetal membrane that provides first corpuscles, blood corpuscles, that is blood cells as well as lymphoid cells by yolk sac. So the correct answer is option 2. Students, till now we are completed level 1 bits. Now let's start level 2. Question number 1 from level 2. The blastomeres in the blastocyst are arranged into an outer layer called: option 1, alluron layer; 2, metoplast; 3, tonoplast; 4, tropoblast. Among these four options, the first one, alluron layer, and third one, tonoplast. So the first one, alluron layer, it is completely related to the plant. It is not comes under animal kingdom, alluron layer. So this alluron layer, it is the outer layer of living cells of endosperm in monocot embryo. Outer layer of endosperm in monocot embryo. So that means it is a triploid in condition. and this tonoplast, it is a single membranous layer covering the vacuoles. Already it is given clearly here. So tonoplast is a single membrane that bounds the vacuole, and alluron layer is the outer layer of endosperm in monocot embryo. And another option, that is mitoplast. So that is mitochondria without outer membrane. We are already studied that mitochondria is surrounded by two membranes. One is outer membrane, and inner membrane. So now the mitochondria without this outer membrane is called as mitoplast. So the left out one, tropoblast. So tropoblast is the outer layer of blastocyst. Blastocyst is nothing but embryo. It is made up of a cells called as blastomeres. So the cells of embryo called as blastomeres. So the blastomeres which are present outer layer of the embryo are called as tropoblast. So the correct option is tropoblast. Question number 2. Two offspring developed in the same uterus from fertilization of two different ova are called. Options: 1. Monozygotic twins, dizygotic twins. 3. Fraternal twins. 4. Both dizygotic twins and fraternal twins. So now once again repeat the question. Two offsprings developed in the same uterus from fertilization of two different ova. If it is fertilization of a single ovum, is called as monozygotic. But here we are giving that two different ova develops into two different individuals. Then it is called dizygotic twins. The dizygotic twins are also called as fraternal twins or unidentical twins. Then the correct answer is option 4. Question number 3. Male germ cells divide to form sperm by option 1, meiosis, 2, mitosis, 3, fission, 4, both mitosis and meiosis division. Let's see the representation of this spermatogenesis here. So this entire representation we will consider as spermatogenesis, formation of spermatozoa. So now these male germ cells develops as spermatogonium. This spermatogonium undergo mitosis division and increase their number. Spermatogonial number is increased. The sum of these spermatogonial cells are increase their size and they differentiates as a primary spermatocyte. So till this only mitosis division is takes place. Now this primary spermatocyte undergo meiosis 1 to form secondary spermatocytes. These secondary spermatocytes undergo meiosis to form spermatids. To form spermatids. These spermatids are transformed into the spermatozoa or transformed into the sperms. So now this entire process is called as spermatogenesis. So during this spermatogenesis, we can observe mitosis division as well as meiosis division. So that's why male germ cells divide to form sperm by both mitosis as well as meiosis division. Hence, the correct answer is option 4. Question number 4. Vas efferentia opens into options 1. Seminiferous tubules, 2. Epididymis, 3. Vas deferens, 4. Reta testis. Let's see the diagram. It is a diagram of testis along with seminiferous tubules. So here the question is vas efferentia. So now we already studied the testis having 250 compartments called as testicular lobules. Each lobule consists the seminiferous tubules. So in this diagram, this region is the seminiferous tubules. These seminiferous tubules opens into the reta testis. So if you are observed clearly, this region is a reta testis. All the seminiferous tubules opens into the reta testis. Now this reta testis opens into the epididymis. Epididymis, highly coiled region. This region is called as epididymis. In this epididymis, the reta testis is opens through tube-like structures called as vasa. Vasa, the tubes which are open into epididymis, vasa efferentia. It is also called as efferent duct. Vasa efferentia. Efferentia. So now seminiferous tubules opens into vasa efferentia through this reta testis. So this is the path of movement of the sperms after formation in the seminiferous tubules. Sperms formed in the seminiferous tubules. From here it enters into reta testis. From this reta testis they are enter into the epididymis through the vas efferentia. And this from this epididymis, the sperms are moves into a single tube that is called as a vas deferens, and it opens into the urethra in the penis in the abdominal cavity. So now here the question is vasa efferentia opens into. Vasa efferentia is opens into highly coiled structure called as epididymis. So the correct answer is option 2. Question number 5. Formation of archenteron starts in options 1. Morula, 2. Blastula, 3. Early gastrulation, 4. Early neurula or neurulation. So let's know about what is that archenteron. So archenteron is also known as digestive tube. Here we are mentioned it is a digestive tube. And this archenteron is a primary gut, that means digestive, and it formed during early gastrulation of the zygote. So the archenteron is formed during early gastrulation. So the correct answer is option 3. Now what about neurulation? Neurulation means formation of neural tube. Already we know that morula, from this morula blastula will follows. So the early stage before this blastula is the morula. So during this morula, the cells, zygotic cells are undergo cleavage to form a cluster of cells surrounded by the zona pellucida, and it is appear like a small ovum size only because of surrounded by zona pellucida, that is morula. And this morula, the cluster of cells formed as a single layer around it. The cluster of cells present inside this morula are arranged form as a outer layer, and inside it is a cavity and a mass of cells at corner. The outer cells is called as trophoblast. The mass of cells at this region is called as the cellular mass. The cavity, it is called as the blastocyst. That condition we will called as the blastula. That means blastocyst development is takes place, embryo. So then next it undergo the blastula undergo differentiation to form the embryonic layer, that is takes place during gastrulation. In that differentiation, starting of that differentiation of the embryonic layers, the early stage it forms archentron digestive tube. In this diagram we can, this region is the digestive tube. Already this diagrams we have discussed. So the opening of this digestive tube is called as the blastophore. So in some group of animals, the blastophore develops as a mouth, that we will call as the protostomes. But in some group of animals, the blastophore develops as a anus. That group of animals are called as the deuterostomes. Already these diagrams we are observed at that time. So now the digestive tube or archentron is developed early stage of gastrulation. Question number 6. In humans, the embryo is protected in options 1. Peritoneal cavity, 2. Amniotic cavity, 3. Pleural cavity, 4. Allantois. So now let's know about the peritoneal cavity. So for this you need to see this photograph here, second photograph. So here it is peritoneal cavity, that is the space present in the abdominal cavity, the spaces present between these body parts, that is peritoneal cavity, where these the abdominal organs are located. And similarly the third option, see that pleural cavity. So pleura is a membrane surround the lungs. So it is a double membrane surrounds the lungs called as the pleura. So pleura is a membrane, it is a membrane surrounds lungs. So peritoneal cavity, so the lungs which are present in that pleural cavity. So cavity in which lungs are located, that is pleural cavity. So next two are, that means amniotic cavity as well as allantois. The allantois and amniotic membrane or the embryonic membranes, here they are. This is the amnion, this layer is amnion, and it forms the amniotic cavity. In that embryo is protected. So as per question, correct option is 2. Now allantois, it just present between placenta as well. That means it is allantois is a placenta umbilical cord, both is connected. It is present between placenta and umbilical cord, allantois. And already we know the functions. It serves as a respiratory organ as well as stores the excretory waste of the embryo. Question number 7. Which gland secretes alkaline mucus in urethra to neutralize the acidity of urine? So now let's know the options. 1. Prostate gland. 2. Cowper's gland. 3. Seminal vesicles. 4. Perpetual glands. So now know about the prostate gland, Cowper's glands and seminal vesicles. All these three are called as accessory accessory male reproductive accessory male reproductive glands. In this, the Gopper's gland is also called as bulbourethral glands. So now these three glands, these accessory glands, produce a fluid substance called as seminal plasm or seminal plasm or seminal plasma produces the fluid substance called as seminal plasma. In that prostate gland, in that semen, 20% of fluid in that semen, 20% of a semen is secreted by prostate gland, and 60 to 70% of fluid of semen from seminal vesicles, and the Cowper's gland, it is around 10% of fluid of semen from Cowper's glands. Now, the prostate gland produces citric acid. It consists citric acid as well as calcium ions. And these seminal vesicles contain fructose. Seminal vesicles, fructose is present in that. So now here the acid condition is present in the seminal plasma. So that seminal plasma acidic condition is neutralized by secreting the alkaline mucus by this Cowper's gland. So option is 2 is correct. Cowper's gland secretes alkaline mucus in the urethra to neutralize the acidity. So now another option here, it is perpetual glands. These glands are modified sebaceous gland, oil secreting glands, and these are absent in human, not present in the human. They are present in mice, and they produces the pheromones, that means substances which attract the opposite sex. Question number 8. 60% of semen is produced by options. 1. Bartholin glands. 2. Cowper's glands. 3. Seminal vesicles. 4. Prostate gland. So here the first option, Bartholin glands, it is present in female. Remaining 3, Cowper's gland, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, these 3 are the male accessory glands, but Bartholin gland is the female accessory gland. So that's why in this question the odd one is Bartholin gland. It is belongs to the female. So this Bartholin gland is the homologous to the Cowper's gland. So it is also secretes the mucus for the lubrication. Next, Cowper's gland, its percentage in semen is 10%. seminal vesicles, its percentage is 60 to 70%. Prostate gland, its percentage is 20% of semen. So as per question, 60% of semen is produced by seminal vesicles. Correct option is 3. Question number 9. Spot the odd one out from the following structure with reference to the female reproductive system. Options: 1. Ampulla, 2. Womb, 3. Prostate, 4. Isthmus. So let's see these options. Option 1, ampulla. Option 2, womb, also called as uterus. And option 4, isthmus. All these three parts are the female reproductive system. And ampulla, womb, and isthmus. Ampulla, isthmus is the part of fallopian tube. So isthmus, it is a part of oviduct or maybe fallopian tube. And this ampulla, it is also a part of mammary ampulla that is present in the mammary gland. Ampulla, it is also a part of oviduct. And womb is a uterus, also called as uterus. Uterus. So all these three parts are belongs to the female reproductive system. So now prostate gland is accessory male reproductive gland. Hence the odd one in this options is option 3, prostate gland. Question number 10. Structural and functional unit between fetus and the maternal body is called. Options: 1. Yolk sac, 2. Chorion, 3. Placenta, 4. None of the above. So now in these options, first two options, yolk sac as well as chorion, are considered as extra embryonic membranes. So the structural and functional unit between fetus and mother is placenta. It is the correct option is 3. Match the following column 1 and column 2. So implantation, the correct matching word for that, embedding of blastocyst, that is embryo, into the endometrium, inner wall of the uterus, that is correct match to that implantation. B. Syngamy. So the correct match for this is fusion of egg and sperm, is nothing but fertilization. C. Ovulation. The correct matching is release of eggs from the Graafian follicle. Next, D. Cleavage. So mitotic divisions of zygote. So the correct option in this question is correct option is 2. For this question in your options, correct answer or correct option is 2. So that is A is 4, B is 3, C is 1, D is 2. That is correct option for this 11th question in your book. It is option 2. Question number 12. Identical twins are also known as option 1. Monozygotic twins, 2. Dizygotic twins, 3. Fraternal twins, 4. Both dizygotic and fraternal twins. So now monozygotic twins are also called as the identical twins because they result from the fertilization of a single ovum that split into two after first cleavage of zygote. Hence, the monozygotic twins are also called as identical twins. So here the correct option for this is monozygotic twins. Option 1 are also called as identical twins. Dizygotic twins or fraternal twins. These two are also called as unidentical twins. That means dizygotic twins are formed from the fertilization of two different ova. So the dizygotic twins are also called fraternal twins or unidentical twins. But here the question is identical twins are also called monozygotic because they develop from a single zygote. Question number 13. Eggs produced in a year by an ovary of non-pregnant woman is. So here eggs are nothing but ova. So option 1 12, 2 6, 3 24, 4 48. So once recollect that menstrual cycle. So menstrual cycle is occurs in every 28 days alternately in ovary, alternate. So suppose the one ovary undergo menstrual cycle the month of January, and in month of second, that is February, the second ovary undergo menstrual cycle, and third month, that is March, again the first ovary undergo menstrual cycle. That means to release the ovum. Ovulation occurs alternately. That means it is a first ovum, first ovary, and it is a first ovary. And in second month, second ovary, and fourth month, that is April, again a second ovary produces the ovum. That means ova or ovum released alternately from each ovary, alternately. That means in 12 months each ovary, that means 6 times undergo menstrual cycle. So that's why it produces 6 ova in an year. So correct option is 2. Question number 14. Which one holds corona radiata? Options 1 mucopolysaccharide, 2 oligosaccharides, 3 lipopolysaccharides, 4 lipoprotein. So all these are the chemical substances. In this mucopolysaccharides are the correct answer. The option correct answer for this 14th question is mucopolysaccharide. So mucopolysaccharides are the long chains of sugar molecules. So the most abundant mucopolysaccharide, that means the example for this mucopolysaccharide is hyaluronic acid. Already this point we are studied during the structure of ova or ovum structure. So the outermost covering of ovum is corona radiata. Corona radiata cells. These cells in this corona radiata is attached by a chemical substance called as hyaluronic acid. So this hyaluronic acid is a mucopolysaccharide. So that's why the correct option is 1. Question number 15. Newly released mammalian egg is covered by options plasma membrane, 2 vitelline membrane, 3 zona pellucida, 4 all of the above. So let's see the diagram here. It is a newly formed ovum. So already we knew that this is the this is a ovum, and it is surrounded by the plasma membrane, and next to the plasma membrane we already said that it is a vitelline membrane, the next to the plasma membrane, and next to that plasma membrane, we will uh, say that next to this region, it is the zona pellucida, and the outermost cells, all these cells are the corona radiata cells. This is the covering. What is the question is that newly released mammalian egg is covered by all these four, that is plasma membrane, vitelline membrane, zona pellucida, corona radiata. So all these membranes are present, but in your book the option is given zona pellucida. It is wrong. So option 4 is correct. All four are covered. That means here three are given: plasma membrane, vitelline membrane, zona pellucida. All are covered. If this question is asked, newly released mammalian egg is outer covering of newly released mammalian egg is, if the question is like that, the outer covering of newly released mammalian egg is, as per these options, option 3 is correct, because corona radiata is not mentioned, no, among the three: plasma membrane, vitelline membrane, and zona pellucida, the outer one, only three are given, no, in that the outer one is zona pellucida. If the question is like that, the outer covering of newly released mammalian egg is, if the question is that, then option is 3 correct. Now if the question is like this: newly released mammalian egg is covered by all three: plasma membrane, vitelline membrane, zona pellucida. So that's why option 4 is correct. Thank you, students. We will continue the remaining bits from level 2 in the next part.